Again, this is the Bainbridge Island Small Business Grants webinar. The city has committed up to $200,000 for small business assistance. The intent is to reimburse or fund business-related expenses that resulted from COVID, and successful applicants may receive up to $10,000 based on those eligible impacts. And if you have questions, Teresa will be checking the chat. Important dates. This Friday, March 12th at 8 a.m., the online application portal does open. And there is a link from kitsapcaresmallbiz.com. There'll be a link from our website. I'm sure the city has it linked. The chamber will have it linked. Should be fairly easy to find. That application period is open until March 28th, 11:59 p.m. So almost midnight. So there's 2 weekends in there in case you need that time away from your office or business. Anytime it's open, and you can always send an email to me, and that information is on the application, and it's also at the end of this presentation for any questions you have. We're anticipating once the applications are reviewed by both KEDA and the city that the checks will be mailed out by the city in April. So the process, do your homework and be ready so that you don't have to be worried about not having one item that you weren't aware of. We will be reviewing them all for eligibility and verifying that information when necessary. As I noted earlier, all completed applications that we believe meet the criteria will then be forwarded to the City of Bainbridge Island for another review. And then those businesses that are awarded a grant will be sent the funds by the city. To be eligible, you must be active and licensed in the state of Washington with a physical business address on Bainbridge Island as of March 1st, 2020. So you must have been on Bainbridge Island with a business address at least a year. 501c3 nonprofits are eligible for this grant. 1 grant award per owner or business entity. I'm sorry, not per location. We've already had this question a couple of times of folks who own more than one business or 2 different businesses, same owner. And to help that funding go as far as possible, it is 1 per owner or business entity. You must have 50 or less full-time equivalent employees, and we define full-time as 34 to 40 hours or a full-time salaried. And if you move to Bainbridge Island on March 1st, but you were elsewhere before that, you all in all must have been in business as of March 1, 2019. So that's 2 years total in business, but at least 1 year must be on Bainbridge Island. We are looking for a minimum of a 25% impact to your revenue because of COVID-19 or the governor's related orders to close or reduce capacity. The final grant amounts will be dependent on the number of total eligible applications. And again, gross revenues not to exceed $5 million per year. Receipt of public, private, grant, and loan funds do not impact your grant award. So if you heard that there's going to be priority given to those who do not get any funding previously, that is not true. We are looking at the merit of the grant application itself. However, we do want to make sure no one is inadvertently applying for what we call double dipping, which is the applicants can say you need reimbursement, you're seeking reimbursement for November 2020, and you were eligible and received a PPP loan or an EIDL loan or one of the CARES grants, and you used one of those funds to pay that November 2020 rent. That is called double dipping, and we cannot approve that. So just be sure that when you are telling us what you want to be reimbursed for or what the funds were used for, that it has not been previously paid by another fund. So now we're going to help you get ready to prepare for the application. If you go on kitsapcaresmallbiz.com, you will see this overview. You can download it and kind of check things off, and we're going to go through part of it here. This PowerPoint will also be on our website, so if you want to use this instead, you can do that. So we're going to be asking for your Washington State UBI, your unique business identifier, and that is what you receive when you have your state business license. We are looking for a completed and signed, I don't know how many times we've received unsigned W-9 forms. So you need to complete it and sign it and then scan it and send to us as a PDF. And there is a place on the application where it's quite easy to upload it. We're going to be looking for the Washington Department of Revenue 4-digit location code. That is the website where you can do it. You just type in your business address and it tells you what your code is. And of course, for this grant, the only applicable codes are those on Bainbridge Island. We'll be looking for your gross revenue, and again, do not include your grant funding. If for some reason that is included in your totals, you just need to let us know in one of the explanation boxes what amount is a grant amount, so that is excluded from our calculations. And we're only going to be comparing Q2 through Q4 for both 2019 and 2020 because COVID impacts did not start until Q2. We'll ask you to select your business structure, and pretty much anything that is a business structure is an option. We need to know what date your business opened, and I apologize, none of us caught this. It should be March 1, 2019. Number of employees you have that are full-time equivalents, and this is the calculations that we are asking you to use. So if you have multiple part-time, this would be how you would determine how many full-time equivalents you have. So again, you need your UBI. We're also going to ask for your federal ID number, your federal tax number. If you do not have one because you file as yourself, then your Social Security, but we do not want both. Your sales tax location code, the date you opened, your gross revenues, and the number of employees and how many potential jobs may be lost. And again, it's all about preparation. We're also going to be asking if your business was closed at any time in 2020. And that could have been because your sector was forced to close, or you were unsure, or whatever the reason. It doesn't impact, it's just a question. We prefer that all the documents are PDF when you upload them. The photos don't always translate properly, or they may be blurry. So if you can make a PDF, that is greatly appreciated. Again, please sign your W-9. You will also need a copy of your City of Bainbridge Island license. We don't need a copy of your state license because your UBI tells us you have one, but we do need a scanned copy of your city license, and then a PDF of that negative impact documentation, which most easily is a profit and loss statement.
Kathy, as I'm going to pop in and say, when you save your documents as PDF to upload, please name them so that it's easier for us to keep track of what you've submitted, as opposed to just some generic auto number. Please name them in a way that makes sense.
Okay, thanks, Teresa. Yes, that's a big help for us. Review the sample application, which is on this website, kidsupcaresmallbiz.com. Just so you are prepared for what is going to be asked. You can go in and out of the application. You can pick up where you left off if you're interrupted, so no worries about that. If you start again, it's going to create 2 different files for you, and we will just delete one of them, but you can pick up. It's really important when we ask for comments that you give us your story. We're looking for your story on how COVID has impacted your company negatively. And again, the portal opens 8 a.m. this Friday. So in summary, go to this website, kidsupcaresmallbiz.com, download and review this overview, review the application. If there's questions that you have to look something up for, do that, do all your homework, be ready. And again, you do have 2 weeks to get this done. And I do want to note that at the end of the application, we do ask you a question about several things that we're asking you to attest to. And that attesting on the application, we are treating as a contract with KEDA on behalf of the city. And I don't know that it says yes. The other thing that I want you to know about is you need to have, we're not asking for receipts, but if we do need to have some documentation or clarification, you need to be able to bring that receipt to us via email. And you are asked to keep that receipt for, Dwayne, did we decide on 6 years or did you want it a little shorter?
Hello, everyone. This is Dwayne Pitts, the finance director for the city. Yes, 6 years is more than enough. Usually the audit period is 3 years, but just in case, the state auditors can go back that far if necessary. So thank you.
Thank you. So again, 6 years. You need to keep any receipts related to what you are asking for funding for 6 years. We're not asking you to upload those receipts, but you need to be able to produce them if requested for 6 years. And there are some other things on the horizon. Working Washington 4 small business grants is being put together now by Washington Department of Commerce. You've probably seen this on the news. There's $240 million set aside for small business throughout the state. This will be business only. Nonprofits are not eligible for this. There will be an online portal with one processing entity similar to Working Washington 3. We expect that the application portal opens later this month, and you can get updates at this link, startupchoosewashington.com. Also, the Shuttered Venue Operating Grant, there's been a lot of discussion about that. This is an SBA program, and this is something new because it's a grant. You will have to have a DUNS number and a SAM account. Both of these are at no cost to the nonprofit or the for-profit business. You can call Dun & Bradstreet, or you can go online and apply for a DUNS number. It is likely they will upsell you. Nothing they want to sell you is required to get the DUNS number. Once you have a DUNS number, you can go to sam.gov, sam.gov, and apply for your SAM account, and you would be registering as a new entity. That is also no cost. Please be cautious. There are a lot of people who are attempting to make nonprofits and businesses believe that they have to pay for this service. That is not true. So anything related to your DUNS number and your SAM account costs nothing. Do not pay for either of those services. You cannot have had a PPP loan prior to after December 27th. If you even have applied for PPP after December 27th, it makes you ineligible for the SVOG grant. And they have set aside $2 billion just for those with up to 50 employees. And again, we do not have a start date for this portal opening either. And you can go to the SBA website. They are updating documents almost weekly, and there are facts there now that have information that wasn't there when this was first announced. And Teresa, do we have any questions? And you can contact me here. I am the lead at KEDA for this grant.
So we had a comment more than a question from Chuck Everett. He's saying that City of Bainbridge does not provide a separate business license. It's included in the state license.
Yeah, I have a comment on that. Thanks, Chuck, for the question. I think it shows up as an endorsement line on the state of Washington's license certificate. So I think that's a really good point, that it's something, if that's something that you can print out and it's an endorsement line, that you could upload that if it's part of your license. So I apologize for that clarification. Does that answer your question? Thanks, Chuck.
Oh, Corrine says that now she thinks the rule was stricken about PPP second draw and shuttered venue. This is what we've been seeing, that it is a moving circle.
Yeah, but when we
Teresa went away. I don't know where she went.
Sorry about that. So it was still showing as only PPP in 2020. Nothing after that date in December would be admitted. And I'm trying to find it because I also saw that the SBDC has, or maybe it was the SBA, but there is a Working Washington, no, so it wouldn't have been the SBA. There is a webinar that is scheduled in a couple of weeks to review Working Washington's 4. And I'll find that and I'll be sure and get it up on our website and also in a newsletter.
Okay, there's also, and this is probably a Dwayne question, can you clarify capital expenses versus non-capital expenses?
Yeah, I think I answered that in the chat.
Okay.
What we're really looking to exclude is kind of equipment, property, plant equipment. If it's something like a plexiglass modification or something like that, I consider that more supplies. But some folks, just for your information, we kind of liberalize the ability on the expenses part to include most ordinary and necessary business expenses. I'm using that terminology specifically because it's an IRS terminology. And we made a few exclusions, but in general, most stuff that you'll be able to claim on your IRS tax return, you'll be able to claim as expense reimbursement. So just to clarify for folks, to help them kind of think about this, the revenue loss is there to quantify your need, but you're actually going to be reimbursed for an expense that you incurred. And that's by design and by necessity, because governments typically aren't allowed to give private enterprise any kind of grants. There are obviously a lot of exceptions with COVID and particularly with the federal government, but we were given guidance by the State Attorney General's office on how we would go about giving away public monies for private enterprises, and that was a specific guidance that he provided. So
there are a lot of rules. There's a couple of questions about the physical location.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. Council, because I was there at the council meeting that night, and they were specific about kind of making it either be an office or a storefront or a downtown type business, because obviously there are quite a few home businesses on the island, and unfortunately they will likely be excluded from consideration. I know that's you know, that's going to be a dismay to some folks, but that's the way the council wanted it to be enacted. So I'm just passing that on.
So yes, you must have a commercial address, either in a business park, downtown, Linwood Center, etc. Cannot be a home-based address, correct? And there's no minimum of employees. There's just a maximum of 50, but there's no minimum. Yeah, that's what I thought. Let's see. So yeah, online operation with the UPS store as our address. I don't believe that would qualify. And unfortunately, but don't give up hope. We don't know what's coming down the line with the newer stimulus package in Congress. We don't have all the information for Working Washington 4 either on what they will consider. So if you don't qualify for this one, don't, become disheartened. Look at other opportunities, and we always post whatever opportunities are out there on our website, in our blog, in our newsletter, and on our social media. And you can find us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. So we're doing our best to try to get that information out to you. Does inventory count as an expense? Yes, because it's part of your operating, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm seeing the comments about sole proprietors who don't have a physical location, and we appreciate that that's super difficult for you folks. PPP, though, you are eligible for as a sole proprietor and as a home business. And if you haven't applied for it yet, you should, because money's going to run out, or March is going to run out. One of those is going to come first, but March 31st is the deadline for applying for PPP.
Yes, and if you have questions about PPP or you need some assistance, Jamie, who is the Kitsap Small Business Development Center counselor, is happy to help you. And Teresa, can you grab her website so they can, get on there and make an appointment?
And, all of that, I include almost every single time in our newsletter. So if you're not receiving our newsletter, I sure encourage you to do that, because we try our best to get the word out on opportunities, but the newsletter is the best way to make sure that you are included in all the updates, and follow us on social media too.
Yeah, our goal is to just get that information out to you. And we are doing our best to stay on top of things. And Dwayne, Chuck has another question. I would say yes, because it's COVID related, not just business related. He's asking about ceiling fans with UV filters to kill viruses, or a tent for outside seating to accommodate the no indoor seating.
Yes, I think the answer to that is yes on both of those. Again, Chuck and others, if it's something that you would ordinarily write off on your tax return, that's generally something that's going to be an allowed reimbursement. Again, the exceptions to that are going to be, think of it like in terms of, okay, you did a major remodel. That's not something that we would want to reimburse you for. Or if you were taking a draw as an owner, I understand that you have personal expenses and things of that nature, but that's really not what the grant is intended for. So the idea is to make it fairly easy for you to be able to get a reimbursement for the expense. It could be labor, it could be supplies. If you have a restaurant, it can be for inventory, for for food or whatever, or for rent or whatever. So hopefully that makes it easy for you, Chuck, and others to consider. The expense side, I'm hoping, will be the easier part. It's the meeting the revenue, drop and things like that are going to be something that you want to think about. But hopefully we made it as easy as we can for you.
Yes, and again, we appreciate that, there's no perfect program, and we all have limited funds to work with. So we are all doing what we can to assist you. Please don't hesitate to contact KEDA if there's some other way you think we might be able to answer a question for you or provide another resource referral. We are happy to do that as well. I'm not seeing any other questions. Dwayne, did you want to have any final words or?
Sure. I just want to thank folks for joining the call today. There's a lot of materials on KEDA's website, and there's a link from our website as well to KEDA, and we have a little bit of background on it, but really KEDA has provided most of the materials that I think will be useful to you. But of course, there may be questions that come up that is not evident on what they presented. And in that case, of course, call KEDA, and if they don't know the answer to it, they'll consult with me. And if necessary, I can go back and actually talk to our city manager or even council if I needed to, if it's something that's really weird and kind of unique. But I think we're going to be able to answer pretty much most, if not all, questions that may come up fairly readily. But thanks everyone for joining the call today, and good luck. We're hoping that you'll be successful in your application for those who are able to qualify.
Yeah.
All right,
just
thank you.
One point to clarify, it is, we made a special purpose for a website for this, for all of the grants we've been working on, and it is kitsapcaresmallbiz.com. It is not our normal Kitsap EDA website, though we do link out from there, but all of the detailed information is at kitsapcaresmallbiz.com.
And I think KEDA has done a good job kind of promoting some of the other opportunities that are available. I have a super soft spot for businesses myself because I owned my own CPA firm for 7 years of my life, and I worked with small businesses for 13 plus years in private practice. So I know how difficult it must, can imagine how difficult it must be